have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Real Estate Realities with the Rebel Broker. My name is Robert Whitelaw, and I am the Rebel Broker. Licensed real estate broker in the state of California, member of the National Association of Realtors. But please, don't hold that against me. We have an interesting show today. It's unusual because it is. I haven't done this before. I am really debating how far to take this. You'll understand more as we go. Before we jump into it, though, let me remind everyone how to get in contact with me. The best way is through the website. Yeah, I'm going to say it. The website address is therebelbroker.com. From there, you can click on contacts in the menu bar to send along any ideas, suggestions, or observations that you might have. You can also join the Rebel Underground by clicking the button there. Rebel Underground is going to increasingly get more and more access to stuff that won't be here on the show. Videos, stories. I'm going to start doing a quarterly market analysis kind of a thing that's going to be more of a county review of my area. And the reason why that'll be relevant for you is because this is one of those markets that tends to be a good indicator, right, of health. So it'll be an interesting thing for you to measure that against some of your local stuff. And we'll also, the numbers we'll talk about will be things that you can then look into in your own markets to see what's going on with you. If you would prefer to join the Rebel Underground using your cell phone, just send the word Rebel Broker to the number 44222. That's text the word Rebel Broker, all one word, to the number 44222. And of course, before we move on, let me remind everyone that if you would like to get your name into a drawing for a $50 Amazon gift card, which we will be doing in December, it's the first day of December, so we're going to probably do that within the next week or two. Go to therebelbroker.com, go to the very tippy top of the page. There's a big red button. It says take the survey to support the show, and click it. Use the same email address both times you're asked, answer a handful of questions, and you've achieved two wonderful things. One, you've helped the show grow. It's a little demographic information. It helps me leverage the show into a position for advertisers. And of course, and as I've promised before, that'll be very limited. I'm not going to just bombard the show with advertisements. It's going to be a limited sort of, I already do a commercial break in the middle of the show, which is a placeholder for that stuff. So that's where it'll live. So there you go. But you'll also get yourself in a drawing for that $50 Amazon gift card. And I appreciate your support. The show succeeds or fails based on you guys. And don't think I don't understand that. And I truly appreciate those of you who choose to spend your valuable time with me. So this is a way for me to expand the show, get it on a paying basis, and also pay you guys back a little bit with these Amazon gift cards. All right. So I'm kind of torn on this one. I don't know if this is probably going to take the whole show. I just got a solicitation letter in the mail from a real estate person, and it checks all the check boxes on what's wrong. And I want to go through this whole thing. And the only question in my mind is, do I share this person's information? It's actually two people, although it's only signed by one of them. And one of them has been a real estate agent for quite a bit longer than the other. But anyway, well, let's just, her information is the information that is specifically called out in the text of the mail here. So let me read it to you, and we'll go, and because this is the kind of crap you're going to get in your mailbox. All right. And it is chock full of what I am right now categorizing as intentional deceptions. All right, so here we go. Dear Robert, this is not a solicitation of your property. I have a specific need. I am working with my clients, Jorge and Maria, buyers who are very interested in purchasing a home within the community in Morgan Hill. Your community represents for them the right neighborhood vibe and what they fell in love with when they initially moving to the area a couple of years ago. So that's number one. There's other things wrong, but number one is proofread your letters, real estate people. Don't be an idiot. And number two, she's already contradicted herself. She says this is not a solicitation. Well, of course it's a solicitation. You're telling me you've got people interested in living in this area. You're soliciting me on behalf of your clients. Either understand what these words mean and use them correctly, or just don't use them. It is and there's more soliciting later. The county's records. So this implies that there was a criteria applied to this letter. The county's records show that your home located at my home address fulfills their requirements. All right, so I apparently met some requirements. They are very serious cash buyers approved by a local lender and prepared to make an offer immediately. Wow. And then she includes a photo she includes a photo without annotating it in any way. But, and it's printed. It's not like it's a separate photo. It's printed on the page, but it's a family with a little girl. And I don't know about you, but I can spot stock photos a mile away. So I whipped out my handy-dandy iPhone. I took a picture of this picture on the page, and sure enough, it's a stock photo. It is not, unless there is an extreme confluence in the universe, it is not Jorge and Maria. Did she mention their names, Jorge and Maria, yet? Because they're Jorge. It's supposed to be Jorge and Maria. She goes on to say in her letter, there are many advantages to selling your home off market. Advantages include top dollar sale price with lower commission fee and less inconvenience of many people wanting to walk through your home at all hours of the day. Call me, another solicitation, if you have ever considered selling your home or have any questions of the advantages listed above. I appreciate your time and interest in this matter. I look forward to the opportunity to speak with you. I can be reached at yada, yada. And then at the bottom of the page are two people, not just her. So let's dissect this. Let's dissect this to give you, I want this to be beneficial for two sets of people. I want this to be beneficial to the people who receive crap like this, and I want it to be beneficial to the agents who listen to this show and still send crap like this. This kind of stuff pisses me off. The vast majority of people who read this, well, maybe not. Maybe I'm off base. But the vast majority are going to realize this is bullshit, right? Right? It does not have the air of honesty, right? So, and I want to also read to you my response to this agent. Because I can't leave well enough alone, I actually replied via email, and I had a hard time dodging the snarkiness. I'll let you guys be the judge if my email was useful. I don't like to just send snark. I actually like to try to sincerely tell an agent, this is what you're doing wrong. You need to stop this because you're not helping yourself. I have no idea how much money she spent. There's a real stamp here. There's a real signature on the page. She hand stamped her return address on here. So it's a forever stamp. She went and bought forever stamps and did this. God bless her. I hate to see this because here's what I see. I see behind this, someone either sent her to a website telling her how to market and how to write one of these or put something together for her. And so because we'll talk in a minute. I did a little more research on this person, which is why my heart softened a little bit. But anyway, let me read my response. Maybe I'm the dick in this equation. It could very easily be. Hi, her name. I just got your direct mail piece and thought you needed some feedback. First, if you're going to claim to have actual buyers, the photo should either actually be those buyers or there should be no photo at all. You see, you used a stock family photo that can be found in tons of places, but here is just one. And then I include a link to a site that sells stock photos, and the photo she included in this email or in this direct mail piece. She spent money on this. She spent the whatever cents it was for the stamp to send this. Not much of a stretch to conclude that the folks pictured are not Jorge and Maria. So there's a little snark, just a little. I toned it down. There was more snark. I got rid of it. If I give you the benefit of the doubt and assume you really do have buyers that my house, quote, fulfills their requirements, and that you simply used a convenient photo for dramatic purposes, I apologize for implying any intentional dishonesty. I actually do plan to sell my home. That is 100% true. Please share with me the requirements for your clients, Jorge and Maria. Since you indicate you consulted county records in your search for a home for this couple, my home must meet those requirements. So what were those again? Since you sent me a letter, my place must meet their needs for beds, baths, and price range, etc. Next, when you start off with, this is not a solicitation for your property, you don't get to then state, call me if you have ever considered selling your home. You see, that second sentence is what we call a solicitation. Okay, snarky. I agree. That was snarky. So you can take this feedback one of two ways. One, you have been caught and are actively helping to damage the reputation of real estate professionals everywhere, but there is hope. There always is. Two, you put together what you felt was an honest and sincere appeal to homeowners, and you just made a few phrasing and photo usage errors that just gave the incorrect impression of a lie. In short, you will need to at least revisit how you put together future mailings to make sure you don't give the impression that you are misleading people intentionally. I truly do hope that this helps. No matter what your marketing mentors are telling you, always stick with the truth and be honest in every aspect of your real estate endeavors. If you want to really stand out, be the one that always sticks with the truth. As I said, I do plan to sell my home. If you want to send along your pitch on why you would be the best agent for the job, I would be happy to read it. Now, I replied to this without using my business email. So there's no signature that identifies me as a broker. That could be deceitful on my part. I've omitted that. But I wanted to see what her response would be. So we'll see. All right. So here we are. We've got a clear solicitation to list a house. That's what this is. It's not, I have a buyer. She doesn't have a buyer. And you know what? I can almost guarantee it, because now let's go over to the multiple listing service. Now, granted, the multiple listing service is not the end all be all for most agents, or for some agents, rather. It is pretty much the end all be all for about 99% of agents out there. Now, it's not the end all be all for me. If you go onto the MLS as a real estate agent and you search for stuff where I've been the listing agent and the listing agent or the selling agent, you're not going to find as many transactions as I was actually involved in. I have some that never went on the MLS. I have some where I was partnering with someone else and their name was on it. So, and then I have tons of transactions where I kind of consulted on them, but was really more of a refer. I referred it out and just consulted in a limited way with the folks that I had referred. So, I get that there's gray area, but we're going to get into a second why that's probably not the situation with this agent. All right. So here's what I did. I went to the MLS for my area, which is her area. She doesn't live in my area. She lives way too far away from my area to be marketing to my area, but that's a separate thing. That should be thing number one. If you're getting mail from somebody and their city, their return address is in a city that's way away from you, now that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't be a good person to help you sell your home. I think that if you find a really good agent, it shouldn't matter where they are. If they're willing to be Johnny on the spot and be willing to run down to that house and your house and deal with anything that comes up that needs to happen on site in the process of listing your home, getting it sold, making sure people have the key, etc., great. That would be it. That would be the only part that would concern me, because finding a good agent is dang hard. All right, we're going to continue this in a minute, but we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to cover the rest of this train wreck. Be right back. Are you ready to jump in and start your search for your first investment property? Maybe you've decided that it's time to own your own home, or maybe you're ready to sell your home and move on to something new. No matter what your goal is, the Rebel Broker can help. That's right, aside from hosting this show, I am also the owner-broker of Whitelaw & Sons Real Estate Services right here in Silicon Valley. With over 25 years experience serving Silicon Valley, Morgan Hill, San Martin, and Gilroy, I or one of my great agents can help you achieve your goals in real estate. So if you're ready to look into taking that next step towards achieving your real estate goals, point your browser at www.soldbyrobert.com. That's www.soldbyrobert.com and get in touch. Let me show you how I will earn your business and your respect. Again, that's www.soldbyrobert.com, or you can call me at 408-852-0525. California Bureau of Real Estate ID 00984-909. Welcome back, everyone. So we're going through this, and I wanted to lay it out. So first, we've got. At first, my reaction was to just really lay into this person. I was going to share their information and leave it kind of dangling out there. That would have been kind of a jerk move. I'm trying to take the high ground here a little bit, my situation softened far more when I actually went up onto my multiple listing service, which is the same one this agent would use given her location. And when I did a search on her in the state records, I found that this is where she's based, right? So she and I are in the same MLS area. I did a search. I did two searches. I did one where she was listed as the listing agent, and I did one where she was listed as the selling agent. Now, before I did that, I looked up how long she's had her license. Now, she's only had her license for a little under 3 years. But here's the part where things got interesting quickly. First, I did a search on homes that she has listed. She has listed 3 homes over the course of her career. She's only sold 1. And all of her activity is well over a year old. So her first listing was in October of 2015. She's listed 3 homes, sold 1, and her first listing expired. So in 2015, when homes, and I'm very familiar with the neighborhood actually for this first listing, ridiculously overpriced at the outset. I know this area. I believe I actually viewed this home while it was on the market. Was on the market for 138 days. And in 2015, at this price point, this neighborhood where it was located, this home should have sold in no more than 30 days. I think when I looked back at the average days on market, it was 46 days for homes of this type in this particular area. So really hard to have that one be a great example of your work. And the listing was canceled. So the listing was canceled by the sellers. Her next listing was, expired. After 138 days, they finally had it just expire, and they gave up on her. The next property was canceled. It was listed on August of 2016, and that one was canceled after 67 days. In 2016, I'm not ridiculously familiar with this area, but I'm ridiculously familiar with the overall market where this is. This is another one that should have been an easy sell, and it didn't. Then finally, a property got sold in the same month of 2016 in Los Banos for what has to be the lowest price I've ever seen for a 4-bedroom home in 2016, under $300,000. So that's it. And that's her entire history. If I go and I do the same search based on her being the buyer's agent, I find nothing. 0. There are no homes that meet that criteria. So according to the MLS, she's tried to sell 3 homes. She's failed to sell 2. So she only has a 30%, 33% chance of selling your home. And given the circumstances underway, in other words, not good numbers. You know, we've talked about the numbers that should be most important to you as a person who's looking for an agent, and just doesn't have the numbers at all. Okay. And I don't want to, and that's another thing, I don't want to really beat her up. Now, if I go out and I look at her marketing material, she really pushes about how awesome she is out there in the world. And not surprisingly, right? So you're not going to create a website for yourself. You're not going to create an online presence and explain how you only were able to sell 33% of the homes you've listed over your entire career. But this is what I want to warn you about. If this is why you need to follow up with, if you do want to list, you need to follow up with the right questions, and you need to make sure that you're getting straight answers. If you managed to read this and you weren't insulted by the obvious stuff, right? Maybe other folks don't notice stock photos as easily as I do. But let's say your interest was piqued by this, despite the fact she starts off by telling you it's not a solicitation for your property and then proceeds to solicit you to do something. That's what a solicitation is. Let's say that's beyond. Let's say, hey, here's a go-getter. Here's somebody who's out there, paying for the postage, hand addressing these envelopes and signing all of these letters. She's read the books that say that's the way to do it. She's read the numbers that say in order to get people to open your letters, you need to hand address them. So she's dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's for the boilerplate steps to do when you do a direct mail piece. Maybe this person should be in the short list. I should talk to her about listing my home. But let's take this letter at face value. She's got buyers, right? And let's say you do want to take advantage. Now, let's also talk about the part that's just plain wrong. There are many advantages to selling your home off market. Yeah, there are some advantages to selling off market. Advantages include top dollar sales price. No, that's not one of the advantages of selling off market. You get the highest price for your home when you have the largest number of people demanding to purchase it. That means the largest number of eyes, which means the best probability of you getting the highest possible price is when you have people seeing it on Zillow, Redfin, MLS, everything, right? You want eyeballs. That's what's going to give you the best chance to get the biggest price for your property, not off market. Now, in a crazy market like ours where stuff is selling in 2 weeks and people are looking for any way to get the inside scoop on a property, yeah, you know what? Right now, and that's a strategy I'm considering doing, just to short circuit the whole letting people traipse through my house thing, and also to cut off the need to pay a commission to another real estate agent. I'm considering the option of, for the month of February, just doing it through Craigslist, just doing it as a for sale by owner on whatever sites I can submit it to as a for sale by owner. That's an option, right? But let's say you take this at its word and that this stock photo really was just an attempt to make the letter more dramatic and more appealing. And there really is a couple named Jorge and Maria. Is that what it was? Jorge and Maria? I think it was. That really want to buy my home and that I really do fit this magical criteria that she talks about. With the reality being there is no criteria. All she did was probably pull up every single address for my community and just sent it. But in any event, what do you do with this? Because here's what's going to happen next. This person's going to show up and she's going to gush about how wonderful your house is. She's going to ask you what you had thought about in terms of list price. Judging by her past performance on listings, my guess is she'll list it for whatever amount of money you want to list it for. And she will tell you that she has these buyers, but before that she can show it to them, she needs a listing on your property, right? So how do you deal with that? Let's say she impresses, right? Let's say she shows up and you ask her all the questions I've told you to ask. You say, and as always, I'm not a volume guy. I have met plenty of agents who suck at being a real estate agent who've closed 100 transactions over the last year. There's a lot of them. In fact, I don't know of an agent who closes that many escrows that doesn't suck. And I hate to say this because I get agents who solicit me to come on the show and be interviewed. And I had one guy, I think I've told this story before. I had one guy tell me he closed 412 escrows last year. Please do not tell me you did your due diligence on every single one of those transactions. There is no way. I don't care what kind of system you've got created. I don't care if you have a team of 20 people. When you got that listing, nobody hired your team. They hired you. You're supposed to be applying directed attention at the listing to get the job done. Right? So I don't care how many homes you listed. What I want to know is how many you listed and how many did you actually sell? Right? Because if you're not selling close to 100% of your listings, that's a problem, particularly in this market. And if you've got an agent you can find who can show you stats that show even when the market was sucking, they were getting homes sold and they were beating. And the other thing you want to make sure is, do they tend to get it sold faster than is the average in your marketplace, or does it take them a lot longer? Do all of their listings end up having to get drops in price to get sold? That would, if that's true, that would tell you they suck at picking a price. So these are all things that should be important to you, right? These are the things that should actually matter. So ask these questions. Say, how many homes did you list versus how many did you actually sell over the course of your career? And it's fine if they're only going to tell you, well, you know what, I've only sold 4 homes. That's fine. But did you sell every one of them? Did you sell all 4 of them? Great. What about the buyer side? How many times did you represent buyers? And these are tougher ones to pin down, right? If you have access to the MLS, you can verify the stuff that someone will tell you in an interview, right? If you say I listed these many properties on the MLS, well, if you check the MLS, you're going to be able to find that out, right? Buyer stuff is harder, right? Buyer stuff you can still pull up if they were on the MLS paperwork for them being represented in the buyer, but it doesn't tell you, well, out of how often are you the offer that gets picked, right? Because no one tracks that. So if I tell you that from my own personal experience, 90% of my offers, 90% of the time, my offer from my client is the one that gets accepted. Well, that's pretty good, but because there's no way even of knowing industry averages, right? I would guess that probably in my world, that number is actually a little bit higher at some times, but then there's times of the year when I represent really challenged folks. I really like to represent vets, and sadly, they tend to operate at a price point that's really difficult to get accepted. There's already a built-in bias against VA loans. It's also tougher because they're buying at a price point that's much more competitive because it tends to be lower. That's all side stuff. But the point I'm making here is, they say they've got a buyer. In every other way, they've answered all these questions correctly. They've backed it up with data to show you how they get it done. They get it sold faster than everybody else. They tend to sell the home for over asking price by an amount that beats what's average in your community, right? Because you want to know that too. You can calculate what the average price is for a home like yours in your community. In fact, if they're going to do a competitive market analysis on your property, these are all going to be numbers that are sitting there. The average days on market will be there. The average sales price will be there, all that stuff. So if you can then get them to say, what about statistically in your history? Do you tend to get homes sold above or below the asking price, right? These are all valid, reasonable questions that go to the heart of the job the real estate agent is supposed to do. So for all of you hearing me who are real estate agents, you should have answers for these questions. However, you better not lie. You better not lie. Because I'll tell you what, if you're in my market, and even if you're not, anyone listening to my voice, if you're looking to sell your house and you're in my area, you're anywhere in the greater Silicon Valley area, I will be happy. And for whatever reason, you don't want me to sell your home, which would hurt my feelings, but I'm okay with it. I will be happy to pull up the history of the agents who are soliciting you to list your house and tell you who's got the best performance numbers in that area. And I can do a really wide area. Like, for instance, I don't do listings in San Francisco. That's just too far away. If you're doing this in San Francisco, if you're doing this way up in Oakland or the North Bay, yeah, I'll be happy to help you out. I'll be happy to help you figure out what the reality is for those folks that are soliciting you to list your house. And if you don't live in my area and you're somewhere else in the country, man, I'll see if I can't track down a real estate agent in your area that has access to the same MLS and see if we can pull up the same data. Because the one habit real estate agents need to get into to change how this job is perceived is to be honest. Build everything on a foundation of truth, and you will stand out head and shoulders above other agents, I promise. Okay, so let's say you're faced with this. Everything so far is great. The answers are right. They've backed it up with data. This is an awesome agent. Well, okay, now they say they've got a buyer, but they've got to get a listing from you before they can show it just to protect themselves, right? That's just the way this works. No, this is your answer to that. Okay, great. What I'd like you to do is to bring in your offer and with it, bring a listing agreement that applies only to this offer. This is a great one because, and I usually, and as I mentioned before, when I first put my home on Zillow a year ago, when I was first revving things up to potentially sell the property, I got like 30 different agents who solicited me with lies like this. And I let the first wave of them come to the house and because I wanted to see what they're going to say. And they all gave me this bull line. It went one of two ways. It either went, I'm an investor and I want to buy your house, or I have buyers for your home. So, and both of them were complete lies. All of them were a pitch for me to list the house. I said, hey, you know what? I totally get it. And I want you to be protected. So here's what I'd like you to do. Go write up your offer with your client and bring a listing agreement that pertains only to that specific offer. I don't want anything on there about it's a listing for X period of time. It is for that specific offer with that specific buyer, limited to that specific buyer and offer, period. And you will see looks on faces it'll make you happy. It made me happy because no one gets told that. And then they collectively soil themselves and they're all, well, you know what? That won't work. In order for my broker to go along with it, we'd have to have the listing in hand ahead of time. Say, okay, fine. I'll tell you what, I'll sign the listing papers right now. We will put in there, there's a listing for one offer with your buyers by name. And I'll even sign a piece of paper that says, I will not entertain any offer from these specific buyers outside of you. In other words, I won't go around. If I discover their name through this listing agreement, I'll sign something else that says, if I end up buying from these folks that you supposedly have in 6 months, I'll still pay you a commission. Once you think your way through this stuff, it gets really interesting. And the deer in the headlights looks you're going to get are going to be sweet, sweet nectar. They're going to be awesome. All right. So there you go. I think that's the way to handle this kind of stuff. I despise these solicitations. Over the course of the last year, I've gotten quite a few of them. Only one of them was ever honest. And I saved that person's information off. And if I ever come across someone who needs the real estate services of someone in Santa Cruz, I'm going to send them to her because she was the only one who was ever honest. And that goes a long way. All right. I hope that was helpful. You know what? Before we call the show, let me see if this person responded yet. I'll just check my email. Nope. She hasn't responded yet. My guess is she won't. Every once in a while, I'll get one that responds where they try to save it, right? They try for the save. It doesn't usually work. But in any event, I hope this has been useful for you. If you're an agent, stop being an ass and doing this stuff. Please. I get it, and this is where my heart goes out to her because she's clearly a little bit hungry for some transactions. She wants something to happen. She's grabbing at results straws, and she's being told by either online people or on sites that she's looking at or her mentor, her marketing mentor at her office, that this is the way to do it. And she needs to not embrace that. She needs to turn away from the casual deception that is built into the training of real estate agents and go entirely with honesty. We've talked about this before. Casual deception is part and parcel of almost every course you're ever going to be offered when you go to work for a real estate firm. It was with me. It is not one. There's not one big company over another that's more dishonest than the others. All the big names. In fact, I used to work for the office that this person is from. It's everywhere. It's built in, and it softens your filter for what's true and what's not true, and just makes the next lie just that much easier. All right, folks. Oh, this kind of stuff just really pisses me off. I hope this has been useful for all of you. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. I apologize for when I'm actually going, I like to be doing at least 3 shows a week until we get ourselves into the new year, when I'm going to jump back in and try to get back into the usual cycle of 5. We've only done 2 this week. Apologize for that. But we'll try to crank out more next week. There's going to be, December is going to be interesting because there's definitely going to be a week off for Christmas. But I'm gonna try and deliver for you the rest of the time. Thanks again for listening, everybody. I'll talk to y'all next time.